Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Today, we will be discussing a fundamental institution in the Philippine society, marriage, and its legal requirements that govern it, according to the Family Code of the Philippines, also known as Executive Order Number 209, issued in 1987. Marriage under the Philippine law is more than just a romantic union. It is a permanent contract between a man and a woman, entered into with the goal of establishing a conjugal and family life. The law treats marriage as the very foundation of the family and views it as an inviolable social institution that must be protected by the state. Now, let's explore the two major categories of requirements for marriage under the Family Code. These are the core elements that must be present for a marriage to be considered legally valid. Without these, the marriage may be declared void from the very beginning.
Article 3 of the Family Code of the Philippines states the following requirements to proceed with the official of marriage. These include a valid marriage license to solemnize the marriage and a marriage ceremony. A valid marriage license is issued on civil register, and there are exceptions on marriages of Muslim Filipinos under customary laws. And a marriage between a man and a woman have lived together as husband and wife for at least 5 years and are legally free to marry. An authority such as a priest, a minister of any church, may, may officiate and solemnize marriage, so long as they are legally authorized. The last requirement of marriage ceremony conducted in the presence of at least two witnesses, and the ceremony must include the public declaration of consent by both parties. Because the private specific legal impediments that can render the marriage unavoidable. Void marriages have no legal effect from the very beginning. It includes incestuous marriages, such as those with parent children or first cousins, which are strictly prohibited. Bigamous or polygamous unions where one party is already legally married to someone also considered void. Another ground for a void marriage is psychological incapacity under Article 36, where a spouse is deemed unfit to fulfill marital duties due to a mental disorder. On the other hand, voidable marriages are considered valid until they are legally annulled. A marriage can be voidable if it was entered into due to fraud, such as concealing pregnancy or criminal conviction. If a person aged 18 to 21 marries without parental consent, that marriage will also be annulled. Additionally, entered into under force, intimidation, or undue influence are not validly contracted and can be declared voidable. It is important to distinguish void and voidable marriages because the legal consequences and processes for nullifying them differ. Understanding these distinctions, individuals are entering into or remaining in unlawful marital unions.
So, moving on. According to Article 68 of the Family Code of the Philippines, spouses are legally obligated to live together, observe mutual respect and fidelity, and provide support to each other. These responsibilities emphasize that marriage is not just a romantic relationship or a romantic partnership, but also a legal and moral commitment. Living together symbolizes unity and the shared journey of life, while mutual respect and fidelity from the foundation of trust and harmony in the relationship. Moreover, spouses are expected to support each other not only financially, such as helping with expenses or contributing to household needs, but also emotionally, especially as helping as especially during difficult times. For example, if one spouse experiences a personal crisis like losing a job or dealing with a family issue, the other is expected to offer encouragement and stability, reinforcing the bond between them. In addition to these personal obligations, the family code also outlines rules on property relations during marriage. Before the enactment of the family code, the default system was conjugal partnership of gains. In this system, properties acquired by each spouse before marriage remain their own, but any income or profit earned by either during the marriage becomes shared or conjugal property. For instance, if a wife owned a business before getting married, the business itself remains her property, but the income it generates during the marriage would be shared with her husband. However, under the current family code, the default property regime is the absolute community of property. So what does this mean? It means that unless there is a prenuptial agreement stating otherwise, all properties owned by by either spouses before the marriage as well as those acquired during the marriage automatically become part of a common property. For example, if a husband owned a car and a house before the marriage and no prenup was made, both the car and the house would be considered jointly owned by the couple after marriage. The rule aims to promote equality and unity between spouses by removing distinctions in ownership once they are married. So this means that whatever property you own, for example, a car, or for example, let's just say a TV or more so a bed, that is conjugal property. So it's in the clause of the family code under Article 68 which says absolute community of property. Uh, so if you bought something during or after the marriage or even before, it is already considered as absolute community of property.
Now we move on to the dissolution of marriage. This refers to the legal process of terminating a marriage, thus separating the two spouses. However, there are different types of this that have different grounds or justifications in order to make it valid. The first would be the annulment of marriage. This is where a marriage is deemed voidable, meaning that it was valid at first but later annulled. The grounds for this include lack of parental consent, fraud, force, impotence, and psychological incapacity. The second will be legal separation, where both spouses will be living separately but are still legally married to each other. However, they may still keep marital benefits imposed to them when they were originally married. The grounds for this would be violence, drug addiction, infidelity, and repeated physical abuse. The last one will be the declaration of nullity of marriage. This is where a marriage is voided from the beginning. Examples of making this valid include bigamy, incestuous marriage, and psychological incapacity. Marriage under the Family Code of the Philippines is a binding contract governed by strict legal and moral principles. It requires legal capacity, mutual consent, a valid license, an authorized solemnizing officer, and a ceremony. Understanding the legal framework ensures that individuals enter into marriage informed and aware of their rights and responsibilities.